Hello, everybody, and welcome to another conversation. Is that what? No, that's not what I said. All right, here we go.
No, keep it. Keep it. That's hilarious.
All right,
Another episode.
another episode. Yes, but they are conversations. Here we go.
Our episodes are conversations.
They are
So
conversations.
welcome to another conversation of
Of we should have recorded that with Phil and
Adam.
hello,
Hi,
Adam.
Phil.
Hey,
I feel like I know the answer to this already since your illustrious beginning of the episode. But how are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, I was gonna mention this, but I guess my tails are showing. But yeah, I'm a little excited and nervous. I'm glad to be speaking to the person that we're talking to today. So yeah, it's a good conversation.
Yes, we have our first guest star of 2021,
Yes.
and I cannot think of a better way to begin our guest interviewee, conversation-y people, and our Black History Month inaugural episode
Yes.
than with our guest today. So, Phil, who's our guest?
Well, before we do that, before we
Oh, I was
introduce,
totally jumping the gun.
it's okay. It's all right. I think you're a little bit excited too. So before we
I'm
do,
very excited.
So, if you are enjoying our conversations and if you want to participate, remember you can always reach out to us on Facebook and Instagram by our acronym WSRTwPA, and you can also find us on YouTube by the title of our podcast. We should have recorded that with Phil and Adam. Do we have any listener comments?
Not that I can recall. But listeners, we
Yes.
covet your comments.
We do.
Bring them to us. Especially, we love when you record a comment that we
Yes.
can share on the air. So
Yes.
please go to our Anchor page and upload a comment if you are loving or hating us or indifferent about us. We don't care. We just want 15 seconds of your voice.
Yes. So now we can get to it. So we have with us Dr.
Finally.
Jeffery McGhee. Hello, Dr. McGhee.
Woo!
Hey, good evening to you guys.
How are you doing?
It's good to be here with you.
Nice to have
I'm
you.
doing pretty good, pretty well.
That's good. That's good.
Excellent. Now, Dr. McGhee, since you are my colleague, may I call you Jeff on this
Absolutely,
episode?
yes. I would prefer you do that. Absolutely.
All right. I don't think we can break Phil of that habit, I fear.
No.
Well, he's graduated, so he
I
should be
know.
broken. Should be broken of that.
Dr. McGhee, you're still my teacher. So you're still my teacher. So I was
Yes, exactly. Whereas the moment he walked across that graduation platform, he lost all respect for me.
Thank you very much. Sounds like partiality to me.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
Well,
Maybe
okay,
so.
Phil, we're like, this is all our poor audience right now. They are being subjected to our insider jokes. So
Yes.
maybe you should fill them in on how we know the one, the only Dr. Jeffery McGhee.
So we both know Dr. McGhee through Roberts Wesleyan College. Dr. McGhee was my voice teacher, or is my voice teacher. He helped me through to finish my undergrad degree at Roberts, and he is one of two voice faculty for the music department at Roberts Wesleyan College. Let's do a little more introduction. And so me and Dr. McGhee have another connection that we are both from the South. uh, Dr. McGee. And I wasn't sure, but I thought I remembered that you are from Macomb, Mississippi. Is that correct?
You got it, Macomb, Mississippi, deep
S-
South
Uh
Mississippi.
huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, not too far from the Louisiana state line. I think you're pretty close to
Mm-hmm.
New Orleans
Mm-hmm.
over there.
About a hour and a half away from New Orleans.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So me and
Doesn't
Dr.
got
Mc,
much more southern than that.
All right, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
You got it.
not not much. It's so so we shared that. Dr. McGee also, just to give a little more history, you finished your degree at University of Southern Mississippi, your undergrad degree. Dr. McGee also went on to get his master's from, I believe, a conservatory in Akron, and right, is that
Not a conservatory, but
it was a
University of
conserv-
Akron or Akron
sorry.
University.
So, and also to finish your doctorate in Wisconsin,
Mm-hmm.
right?
University of Wisconsin Madison.
Dr. McGee, he has done a lot of things. Some of the things we want to highlight. You've soloed with the Rochester Oratorio Society. We've sung with them, and one of the things that I think is especially pertinent to our conversation tonight, you've done a lecture recital on the life and spirituals of H.T. Burley and the composers that followed in his footsteps. And so hopefully that will be very pertinent to our conversation tonight as we start this conversation in Black History Month. And also, last thing, I don't
Okay.
want to forget this. You've with Dr. Landrum, um, you're one of your collaborators. You've started a CD project and are finalizing of hymns and spirituals and such. So maybe we could talk about that too as we go forth. So welcome, Dr.
Okay.
McGee.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Jeff.
It's my
We
pleasure.
Yes, we've been trying to get Dr. McGee on the program for a while, haven't we, Phil? Like
We
back
have.
back when we first started, we talked about what a great guest he would be. So finally, we're
Yes.
making it happen.
Yes. Finally, it has happened. So, Dr. McGee, one of the I think one of the great places to start, like with anybody that we haven't had on or that is their first time, is kind of at the beginning. And so, like, we wanted to kind of talk about, African American music, and how it has influenced, kind of who we are. And I kind of, it's personal for me. I think in a way that is very personal for you too. So, kind of like, what was the beginnings of your musical beginnings, growing up in Macomb, Mississippi?
Okay. So Phil, as far as I can remember back, my dad, his brother, and a few other guys sang in a gospel quartet. They actually actively sang for about 25 years.
Mm.
Then they retired, and then their children, my cousins and I, we took over and we sang for another uh, 10 years at least until some of them went to the army. But probably, I mean, I think I can remember as far back as age five, just standing around listening to my dad. They would practice. They would have rehearsal at our house on the weekends, and I just recall listening to them practicing, and then actually singing at times with them,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was just such a rich musical background for me, and at the same time, um, I can't remember a time when I was not singing in the African American or Black church, Baptist church, and so all of that is just kind of a part uh, of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how much do you want to know about that that time in my life? Of course, my voice hadn't changed, and I can remember, up through at least 12 or so, I had a very high voice and loved singing up there. I think, to be honest, I think that's probably why, some baritones, as I am a baritone, some baritones have a great falsetto, and others don't. And I have kept a good falsetto, and I think that has a lot to do with that early time of my singing, and really loving every moment of it.
Were there any, you know, formative moments that you can tell us about? You know, a story of a time when you thought, music, what I want to do for a living is music.
Oh, wow. Well, that's a good question, Adam. So, I have always been passionate about singing. I remember now. I remember when I was in like the sixth grade, um, and we were doing. I think it was Tom Sawyer, and I think I was the character Jim, and we had to. There was a song called. I can remember this song to this day. Um, we had pretended to. They had funerals for us. We had pretended that somehow they thought we were dead or something, and then I remember singing this song called "Yes, It Is Our Funeral We're Having in Town Today," and something about being on the stage during that time was just so exciting for me. And I had great teachers who would always encourage me with my singing. So I think it was like the moment I got on stage that I thought, I think I would love to do this. Um, However, I also played in the band. I played trombone through 12th grade, and I remember there was a summer camp, band camp that my friends and I went to in Hattiesburg at the University of Southern Mississippi, and during that same weekend they were having auditions for the School of Music, and I had said in my mind that I was going to major in computer science. And my friends my friends asked. They said they were going to audition for the choir, and if I wanted to audition as well. And I said, okay, sure, I'll do it. And so we did that audition. A few days later, I got a call from the one of the voice teachers on the faculty, and he said, "Enjoyed your audition. I would like to recommend you for a Dean's Endowment Scholarship, but that would mean that you'd have to come back and do a different audition for the voice faculty." And I went back to my high school teacher, and she prepared me with a few songs. Went back and auditioned for that, and got the scholarship. And so what I ended up doing was double majoring in computer. I know you will not believe that now, but I but I ended up double majoring double majoring in computer science and music, and I was absolutely no good at computers. So after 1 year, I went strictly music. There's another little story, Adam, behind that. There's a historic black college in Mississippi, Alcorn University. And there was one of my adjudicators. I went to a Nats my first year at University of Southern Mississippi. I went to a Nats, the Nats National Association of Teachers of Singing competition, and my teacher had pumped me up, saying if you didn't win first, second, or third, I would really be disappointed. He was trying to encourage me. So I went through the semifinal round. I made the semifinals, and after the semifinal round, they put up the winners for the final round, and my name was not up there, and I was
Mm.
so discouraged. At the time, I was still double
Okay.
majoring, and the guy from Alcorn came up to me and he said, "Young man," he said, "I just wanted to encourage you." And let you know that I really enjoyed your audition, and I'm so surprised that you're not on the final list. And it was at that moment of not winning that competition that I realized that music was what I wanted to do,
Oh wow.
and I just totally dropped out of the computer science, and all these years later,
Hmm.
by the grace of God, I'm still doing music.
Well, as someone who has a little bit of familiarity with your technological prowess and a lot of familiarity with your singing prowess, I can attest that you made the right decision.
Well, thank you, my friend.
Not that you're bad at computers, that's not what I'm trying
Well,
to
you know
say.
that I am.
You're just a far better singer.
Oh goodness.
I think also you're not too you're not too bad of a learner. We have to say that this is a little bit of an inside joke. We spent kind of 10 minutes trying trying to get you situated, and you were a good sport. You were a
Oh,
good sport
It's a
about
good thing it's not a live show.
yeah.
right. Oh my goodness.
We did.
So, Jeff, tell us, when did um, you told us that you grew up in the black church.
Hmm.
When did the spiritual become a passion of yours?
Hmm. Well, okay, so I think I think Adam, it was I got another story to tell.
Perfect.
It was like a link. The spiritual kind of became a link. I'll explain what I
Mm-hmm.
mean there, because actually in the church that I grew up in, we really didn't sing spirituals per se.
Yeah.
There may have been one or two that were in there in some form, but that was not something that we actually sang. However, I got exposure to spirituals in choirs, right?
Yeah.
I was in choirs from seventh grade on, and I readily related to those
Mm,
pieces, and
mm,
and so that's all. And obviously, the music of the black church is a development from
Mm-hmm.
the spiritual, but it was just an innate connection. But here's the story I was going to tell you. So in undergrad so actually it probably would have been in my undergrad education at the University of Southern Mississippi,
Mm-hmm.
where I really developed the love for spiritual, because it was the idea of, here is classical music,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm singing the Italian, German, French repertoire and arias. And here was the concert spiritual that could be performed in a classical, right? More or less
Mm-hmm.
a classical style. And so I am thankful for those guys like H.T. Burley, who
Yes.
concertized the African
mm-hmm,
American spiritual, which gave
mm,
classical musicians
mm-hmm,
an opportunity to stay connected with some of the music of their past, and have arrangements of these pieces that could continue to live on a concert stage. So I would say, my teachers introducing me to spirituals in the undergrad in my undergrad years would have been when it first began.
Wow. I think the thing that you said about the link is something that I really connect to as well. Because I'll tell a quick story that that leads to a question. I remember
Mm-hmm.
singing, one of the 24 Italian art songs, and going to my teacher, and I'm like, I'm just not getting this song, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've shared this story before, and I know I've shared it with you, Dr. McGee. And the first thing he said to me is that, well, one, you're acting, so figure that out. But then
Mm-hmm.
the second thing he did, and I'm going to say, Mr. David Ayers, I think you. Hopefully, one day we can maybe have a conversation with you. Is that he introduced me to H.T. Burley? He said,
Mm.
"Here is a spiritual piece." And because he knew I grew up in the church, well, I'm still in the church. He knew that I had that connection, and so he said, "Buy this book," and he
Mm-hmm.
gave me Deep River, and that connect, like you said, the connection of trying to become the mechanics of being a classical singer, or the repertoire of being a classical singer, merging with music that connects deeply with me, like the authenticity of that. um like it just really brought a connection that I'll struggle with. So, like, one my question for you is, you know how, like, have you ever struggled with, like, expressing yourself authentically, um beyond the spiritual, or even as you sing the spiritual, in that connection? I don't know if does my question make sense?
Hey, Phil, can you come back to that question in just one just one
Yes.
moment? I had a thought
Okay.
that this was another experience that, Adam, I'm telling you, it blew my mind, blew me away for some reason. I was at Ole Miss, um,
Mm-hmm.
for, I believe it was a Nats competition, but somehow there was a clinic going on, um, with William Dawson,
Oh, wow.
Mm.
and the song that they were rehearsing, when I stepped into this rehearsal, was, I don't know, I can't remember the name, uh, Carol, or In His Carol,
Oh, yep.
the
Mm-hmm.
one
Yep.
day as I was a walking, and to see this man
Mm.
teaching this spiritual to actually, probably a predominantly white choir. It was an incredible moment, for me. So yeah, there have been lots of things that have kind of helped develop my love, for spirituals. I just
Yes.
wanted to share that. Um, okay, so Phil, back to your question. I'm sorry. So can you
No, no.
restate it for me?
No, that's fine. But I think you're just hitting at it, like the connection of being yourself when singing the spiritual, um, and connecting that back to your classical training. Like, have you ever reflected on that, like, and the connection of being your authentic self in singing those?
Yeah, I mean, it's the I mean, I'll say it in a couple ways, which still, maybe you guys can speak into this a little bit. But as a person of faith, as a believer, uh I have always had more of an immediate connection, uh to to spirituals,
Mm-hmm.
or to, gospel music, just an innate. I mean, it's not like you're trying to put on you. It
Mm-hmm.
just is.
Mm.
It is authentic. And interesting that you brought this question up, because, um, where I ended up landing in my dissertation project, was trying to find this connection between. I know. Okay, so I noticed as a young teacher that students didn't have this kind of organic connection with the music they were singing, and so I really kind of tried to develop a project that I think the name of the project was Connectedness, finding that connection between um, uh, uh, the text and what we're singing, and the music, how those things bring out an interconnection. And I said in the preface of this work that for me that connection was trained from a very young age, and so I I have all in as far as singing, it's never been about trying to quote put something onto the music. It's always come from a genuine place. So for me, when I went into classical music, it was an easier transition. I mean, I just remember teachers in undergrad saying that, Jeff, you have kind of a natural musicality about you. And I accredit that to my background in gospel music. And I like drama. So for me, it was just another means. It was just another means of drama. I didn't know anything about opera when I was until I got to college, right? But the dramatic aspect of it appealed to me. So for me, it the link somehow um, was fairly organic, believe it or not.
Yes.
Even with these strange languages that you had to learn, it was still about trying to communicate, or having something to communicate through whatever you were singing.
Now, Jeff, let me ask. Let me ask a question, a selfish question. And I'm a little bit ashamed that you and I have not talked about this prior, but I'm going to attribute that to the fact that you live up on the third floor of the building and I'm in the basement, so I don't get to see you as frequently as I might want. But we were just talking about how the spiritual was like a link that allowed you to be your authentic self. What about those of us for whom the spiritual is not a part of our heritage? Do we have business singing spirituals?
I mean, I would say yes. But I know some people who would probably. I mean, there are a few who would say no. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that I find in spirituals is that there's so much of the human condition that, in some sense, we can all share. We've all been through struggles, right? Um, we have all been through times when we felt like giving up on something. We've all had heartaches, and I would say that there is a place. I mean, I relish the thought that my students, be they African American or non-African American, uh, have a desire to sing this music. Now, I think that um, it would be um, to people's advantage, just like you would do with any other song, is to try to do a little background information on the pieces that you are singing. But I absolutely think that non-African Americans can and should sing spirituals. I mean, obviously, I've heard Roberts Wesleyan College chorale go to town singing some spirituals, right? And there are some African Americans in that group, but I would say that the majority of those students are not African American, and you have done a great job teaching them. And so I would say, carry on, my brother, is what I would say.
I appreciate your permission. Thank you. And I think, like, it's a real shame that the director of the chorale is a boring white guy.
He's not boring. He may be a white guy, but he's not a boring guy.
But I even though I am a boring white guy, I could not program spirituals because it's such an important part of the repertoire. So just, and I mean, going even beyond the sacred nature of spirituals and going beyond the cultural significance of them, there's just the obligation to make sure that students are exposed to this really crucial part of the repertory. But let me ask you this. You, as something of an expert on the spiritual,
I wouldn't go there, but
coming from your background, what would be your words of caution to white people about the things that go from a respectful homage to the culture to appropriating the culture? What are some things that would cross the line that would make you respectfully knock on my door and say, Adam, you're not getting this right?
Okay, so here's something. Okay, and this is kind of a let me see if I can say it in a way that's understandable. But I have seen some non-African Americans, right, perform spirituals in such a way that kind of makes the performance seem like a parody of something that's real and heartfelt. And so I think it's the crossing of that line where it becomes, now I'm not saying a spiritual cannot in some sense be entertaining to the audience, but it's not entertaining because one is trying to put it out there as some entertainment, right? So even those spirituals that are quote fun to sing, there is an element of them that is not just kind of he we're doing a spiritual. I don't quite know how to express that. And then also there's another caution that I would give is movement in spirituals. It just depends on the people. If you have a lot of people who cannot move, move to the beat, or you're clapping, right? You're clapping on 1 and 3 instead of 2 and 4. Then it almost becomes comical a little bit, right? I mean, those would be the two things that kind of stand out. Yeah, Phil. I mean, you have anything to add to that?
I mean, I'm not gonna add anything. I have a question. I'm gonna share a funny thought. So we did I think my last year we did some singing for MLK Chapel, And one of the funniest moments is when I asked um, the audience, the student body, to clap with us on the 2 and the 4. And I remember the chaplain. I'm blanking on his name now. The pastor. He's saying every part.
Pastor G.
Pastor G. He came up and he said all the parts of the beats were covered in those claps because they were everywhere.
Oh my!
Every part of the 1, 2, the 3, and the 4 were covered. But Dr. McGhee, if you could, would you maybe give us an example of a lively spiritual that could be, if not done thoughtfully, could be a parody of what the message is?
Wow. Well, I'm just trying to think of some like, would it be? I'm thinking of Walk Together Children. I'm thinking of I'm gonna sing till the Spirit moves in my heart. I mean, sometimes, boy, I really just don't know how. Sometimes the expression of it is over the top, and so to the point to where you don't feel like, as you asked me earlier, you don't feel like it's coming from a genuine, a place of honest authenticity in the performance. I mean, I think no matter who you are, you can approach the spiritual from a place of an authentic expression. And you don't have to feel like you got to make the spiritual something because it's saying, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. So I'm just all over the place trying to make it shine. Some of these expressions of like, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, don't necessarily have to be over the top with gesticulation or I don't know. It can be a settled place in your heart where you don't have to be putting it out there as if you're trying to entertain people. But you know what? That is not just true with spirituals. That's true with anything that we sing. We have to find the place to where we are not. I remember Alfred Anderson, God rest his soul, my first voice teacher. He used to say to me, "Don't sing to impress." I think that's what I'm getting at. When you sing a spiritual, and trying to, we're about to sing a spiritual, we're going to impress you. That doesn't really work. But rather sing a spiritual to express what's in it or what's in you from the words in the message of the piece. I think that's it, right? I mean, it's like, because we try so hard, some people try so hard to make a spiritual impressive, that it becomes less impressive. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but
it makes perfect sense. Yeah. Let me ask a related question. A student comes to you and they really want to sing what did you just mention? I'm going to move to the Spirit moves. I'm going to sing till the Spirit moves in my heart. Okay, and they say, Dr. McGhee, I really want to sing this solo, and I've got an arrangement here by Harry T. Burley, and I've got an arrangement here by Moses Hogan, and I've got an arrangement here by Andre Thomas, and I've got an arrangement here by Mark Hayes, and I really want to do the Mark Hayes. Okay? What do you counsel them?
Oh, so you're saying, okay, so for those who don't know, you're like all these other guys are African American, and Mark Hayes is a white guy.
Yes.
Um, uh, okay, so Adam, I would say, um, okay, let's do Mark Hayes, and I would say this because I think Mark Hayes has done a beautiful job with arranging some
Mm-hmm.
spirituals, and so um, we go with the merit of the arrangement, not the color of the skin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean I've done several Mark Hayes spirituals, and love them. Now there are particular spirituals that were arranged by. I could give you an example of one that was arranged both by Mark Hayes and by Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
I if that with that particular tune, that particular spiritual, I preferred the one by Moses Hogan.
Okay.
Uh, but that was a preference with that particular
Mm-hmm.
spiritual. I did another arrangement, an arrangement of which this song is actually not a spiritual, but we kind of consider it to when we're thinking about spirituals, we consider it a spiritual. But this little light of mine, I'm pretty sure is not a spiritual. But there's an arrangement that I do by a white guy, and I love the arrangement. I've done several arrangements by
Mm.
non African American composers or arrangers, and it's the merit of the spiritual. So I mean, so that would be my counsel. I would not say, well, that's not a true spiritual because it was not arranged by an African American.
That's good. That. All right. Excellent. I will not throw out all of the Mark Hayes in the choral library.
Absolutely not.
Now, related to that, I'm sorry, Phil, you have a bunch of questions you want to ask, and I'll shut up after this one. But this is just
Okay.
another selfish need. Okay, Dr. McGhee, um, now you mentioned the Roberts Chorale, and we sing spirituals. Almost every concert there will be a spiritual. That's very important to me. But the Roberts Chorale is, if I can say so, not a half bad choir.
That's right. Absolutely.
Now,
More than not half bad.
my I also have a church choir that may not be at the same level as the Roberts Chorale. And unlike the college choir, which does have black students, my church choir is a bunch of people who look like me. I mean, we're talking the whitest of the white. Now, with that choir that I know may not be able to, um, simply does not have the technical proficiency to sing with authentic style. Should I program spirituals anyway, occasionally, because of their significance and their meaning, or stick with the white people music?
Boy, Adam, I think that you still have an opportunity
Hmm.
uh, to your church choir to be able to instill in them something of the background of the spiritual and the
Mm-hmm.
significance of the music. And I think knowing you, that you would understand what spiritual they may be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
It may be there are some spirituals that are more sophisticated. And when I say, I mean technically
Yeah, right.
sophisticated, right? And there are some that even a church choir could profit in doing, and then you have an opportunity to teach them
Mm-hmm.
something of the background, teach them certain aspects, perhaps of will you make a dialect choice,
Mm-hmm.
or will you have any clapping involved? I mean, all those kinds of things. Um, but yes, I mean, I say yes, still do it. And I have a feeling that knowing you, that you would.
I do, yes. Yes, I do. But there is, it just there's a bit of, I mean, I guess some sociologists would call it white guilt. Like there's a little bit of white guilt going on for me.
Mm,
Like, oh man, like I love this music, and I do see the benefit, musical and
right,
spiritual, from
right,
this music.
right.
I think this is valuable in so many different dimensions, but I still wonder, like, do I have business being the one who introduces this music to other white people?
Well, I mean, I was gonna one of the things I
I,
was
s-
gonna. Oh, go ahead, Dr. McGee.
I mean, I say yes.
Hmm. Well, thank you. Your permission assuages me of some of my guilt. Thank you.
Right. I mean, I don't think you need to have that guilt. Right.
Hmm.
I mean, why? I mean, in one. I mean, okay. There would be a lot of people who, not a lot, but I can hear that. I can imagine that somebody would come along and jump on me and say, "Hey, that is not true. They don't have any uh, they shouldn't be singing this music, in other words.
Hmm.
But I just think I don't think it's kind, number one.
Hmm.
I don't own the spiritual.
Hmm.
It did.
Hmm.
And what if Europeans, right, said to me, you are not French, you have no business ever singing a French art song.
Hmm.
That, I mean, a case could be made for that as well. But I say that we have a rich music tradition, African American musical tradition, that I am very proud of, and it gives me pleasure to know that others want to sing it.
Hmm. Yeah.
One of the things I remember in our core conducting class, um, the book that we were using makes the case that programming multicultural music will help your students appreciate their Western cultural music.
Mm,
And I remember saying this in the class that I think learning the gaining in literacy and learning more Western music helped me to appreciate the music, the gospel music, and the music that I grew up, the complexity of the music that
Hmm.
I grew up
mm,
singing and playing.
mm-hmm.
Even though I, still that's still a pursuit of mine to be able to play some of the gospel music that I grew up playing and hearing, but I came to appreciate that because of that, and so I think the connection between both, doing both, is great. Look, I have, man. There's so many questions and we're so low on time, but
We're gonna to have Jeffrey McGhee back for a second episode sometime.
we are Dr. McGee. I want to say, oh yeah, this is what I also wanted to say. I think you have Dr. McGee come talk to your church choir, or come, maybe
I don't
um,
know if I can afford him.
Oh, please.
have him come sing with
or
your
s-
for your
or
church
s-
choir.
Mm.
And let, because I think that's the biggest thing. Like, that's what helps with authenticity, right? That I've never heard it before. Like, and that's like what you were saying, Dr. McGee, with any style. You need to hear a German sing, German leader. You need to hear
Mm.
a good French sing, French art song. Like that's true with the spiritual. Like you need to, or with gospel music, you need to hear someone sing it. That can we? So I really want to go back to, maybe we can touch this as I ask the second question, but the drama that's in the black
Mm.
church, right? You touched on that and how that really help you kind of go organically into opera.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that I want to hear you talk about that, but I want to ask this other question too. Like there are so many when we understand what is, the African American music, we feel it. Maybe you feel it before you actually think about it and hear the words. Like, wade in the water. You feel that before you ever understand the depth of understanding of what that actually means and the drama in
Mm-hmm.
that. Like, so can you like share some examples of spirituals that that you felt, and the drama that they kind of evoke, maybe from you or your audiences?
Mm. Um, okay, let me just go through my brain of some of the
Okay.
some of the spirituals that I've sung. Um, um, there's one that "Bury Me in the East," right?
Mm.
Um, I can imagine um, that this person um, had a bit of, well, not a bit of, that there was pent up anger,
Mm.
perhaps in the person, um, but they knew that their deliverance was coming, and it was
Mm.
almost like you can. Let me see if I can remember the words of the song. You may bury me in the east. You may be in captivity, right? You may bury
Mm.
me in the west, but I'll hear the trumpet sound in that morning. It's almost like I can picture several levels here, right?
Mm.
You're saying to someone, though you have oppressed me,
Mm.
uh, one of these days, right? One
Mm.
of these
Preach.
days, I'm gonna fly off, and I'm gonna be with my Savior. So nothing you can do, right,
Mm.
can really hinder me. So
Mm.
all those depths of feelings, that would be one that has a lot of drama. Uh, the idea, the wade in the water piece, right? When that sometimes some of these spirituals had coded messages, right?
Mhm.
Mm.
Saying so imagine a slave escaping, and then the slave owners had dogs coming
Mm.
after the slave, and you can sense how, I mean, because if you get caught, uh, you're going to be beat,
Mm.
right? And just imagine what that feels like. So the idea of getting into the water so that the dogs can't pick up your scent. I mean, all that is drama, right?
Mm.
And it's stuff that you can just kind of play with and incorporate in and think about as you're expressing these pieces.
What about some gospel music? Because we've talked about the spiritual, but gospel music was also part of your upbringing. So maybe can you share maybe a gospel piece um, that?
Well, I mean, as soon as you say that, I'm just going with the stuff that's off the top of my head, right?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Uh, and um, and maybe I don't know whether this. this may be a spiritual. I don't know, but I get the picture. I don't know if you guys have never seen this movie, you should watch this movie.
Okay.
Imitation of Life. Have you ever seen it?
No.
So Mahalia Jackson. You ever heard that name?
Mhm.
She sings at the mother's funeral. She sings, "Sooner will be done with the trouble of the world."
Mm.
And I'll share this because my dad is no longer with us, but I saw my dad cry about 3 times in his lifetime. And this movie was one of the movies where I saw him shed a tear. It is so touching. And let me give you just a little piece of what this show is about. So it's a Caucasian woman who owns a home, has a black maid, has a white daughter, but the black maid has a daughter, and the father of that daughter is a white man. So the daughter of the black maid appears. She lives her life as a white person. One of her boyfriends found out that her mother was black, beat her, and she became embittered by that, and she went off, told her mom she didn't want anything to do with her, went off, had her life of performing, and her mother. It's gripping. It's a gripping story. The mother tells the daughter, "What I just want to see you," because the daughter moves to a different town. She gets in different shows. And she tells the daughter that she just wants to see her. She will come to these places, and she will tell the people that she is the daughter's maid, or was the maid of the daughter's mother, instead of saying that she was the mother. And the daughter would never want to see her. She got sick, and she died. The mother did, and the daughter comes back. I don't want to give away the story, but the daughter comes back at the funeral time with great remorse. But it is a gripping movie. But when I hear Mahalia Jackson sing "Sooner Will Be Done with the Troubles of the World" at that funeral, it's an incredible emotional moment.
And what's the name of the film?
Imitation of Life.
Oh, excellent.
This has
Phil,
been so
should
good.
we?
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
should we transition to our final segments, even though we could keep going for hours?
I guess we should. Because I had another question, but it just left my mind. So maybe we should.
But Jeff, we've got to get you back on sometime. This has been a great conversation.
Hey, I've enjoyed being with you guys.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you,
So,
thank
every week we end with 2 final segments. I'll let Phil tell you what they are, and then you can decide whether you would like to participate or not.
Or just listen to you guys.
Or or just listen. Yes, we hope you'll participate, but we also don't want you to feel negative peer pressure.
Yes. So the 2 segments are current events, where we share something in the news. It could even be personal, like that, more something less global or national, and something more personal. And then the last segment is something we learned during the podcast. And so those are 2 segments. Would you like to participate, Dr. McGhee?
Well, how about this? How about I listen to you guys, and if I have something that comes to my mind that I want to share, I'll raise my hand.
Sounds good.
All right. It's a plan. It's a
Yes.
plan. Phil, what's your current event for this week?
I thought you were gonna ask me first. Look, why don't you go first?
All right, I'll let you gather your thoughts. I'm
Yeah.
actually decided that you know, the news just depresses me so much,
Mm-hmm.
and I have not exactly refrained from being vocal on this podcast about
Mm-hmm.
the news, but
Mm-hmm.
this week I'm going to instead offer a recommendation
Mm.
of a great escape from reality. It's on Netflix, and it is a show called it's a show called Schitt's Creek. Now that is SCHITT apostrophe S. It's the last name of some of the
Okay.
characters in the show,
Mm-hmm.
but it is a fantastic sitcom with just the most absurdly delightful characters. And I've been watching an episode before bed for weeks now, and I just love it. It is, again, called Schitt's Creek. All
Okay,
right.
I'm going to check it out.
Yes. I just it's just delightful. Anyway, Phil, what's your current event?
Okay, my current event. Um, you shared a graph over the weekend, I think, and it's something that I've been thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the rate of abortion over the past, like since Ronald Reagan's presidency,
Since it
I
was
believe.
legalized, really,
Oh,
yeah,
since it
like
was legal.
since
Okay.
the Nixon
Oh,
administration, yeah.
yeah, I think it was Nixon. Yeah, I think I saw it Nixon. So, and just how the rate has actually been lower, and maybe even decreasing under Democratic presidents. And the
Mm-hmm.
thought that I had was a one of, we really need to, and I said this in my post when I shared it, we need to promote life. We need to have policies
Mm-hmm. Yes.
that
Mm.
enable mothers, I mean, even single mothers, to take care of their children, good health care, a livable
Mm-hmm.
wage, clean air, clean water, all these things that promote life. That's what we should be doing. And I
Yes.
think that would help take care of the abortion rate, like as your graph was demonstrating.
Mm.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, I could touch on. I mean, I'm very pro-life myself,
Mm-hmm.
and
Amen.
I I I'm no I grieve when I feel it necessary to vote for a pro-choice candidate.
Mm.
Um, but there's so many more facets to being truly pro-life for the whole life
Mm.
than restricting access to abortion. That is one facet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that it's not a facet, but there are so many other facets, and we do the cause of life a real detriment when we ignore the other
Mm.
facets.
Yeah. So, Dr. McGee.
And I
Oh, go
would
ahead.
I would pipe in and say that something that came to my mind when you were talking about current events was the little segment that was done to remember the legacy of Cicely Tyson, who
Mm,
passed who passed
yes.
this week, and what just an example for African American women
Mm.
in film, and just a wonderful, great career, long
Yes.
life, and that was a treasure to see.
Yep. Yep.
I'm sorry we lost her, but I'm glad that she was honored.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes.
Phil, what did you learn this week?
One of the things Dr. McGee said I thought was so great. Don't sing to impress, but express.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was
Yes.
great, great encouragement. So,
Yes. I learned that good music is good music,
Mm.
and good music belongs to us all.
Mm-hmm.
And so I will be less timid in my embrace of music that comes from cultures other than my own.
Mm.
What about you, Jeff? What did you learn this week?
Well, I learned that I enjoy being around these two fantastic young men, Adam Potter and Philip Woodard.
Well, we enjoy your presence as well, young man.
Yes.
I'm not so sure about yesterday. I just turned another year older. So
It was your birthday yesterday?
Yes.
yes, it was.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yes. Happy birthday. Yeah, I mean that's something else. Like that was one of the other things that was nice. I think one of the it was maybe the first year I was there. We went to what was that? Longhorn Steakhouse or something like that. Do you remember?
No,
do
you guys took me to. Yes, you guys took me to.
Is it called
It
Longhorn?
was Texas Roadhouse.
Texas Roadhouse. That's it.
Yes.
Texas
Yes.
Roadhouse. Yes, I
In
remember it.
Rochester.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah. So
absolutely. It was
So,
my
yeah.
first year at Roberts as well, and I
Oh,
was
wow.
just so thrilled that we had access to chain restaurants again.
All right.
After being in Cleveland, Mississippi.
Whoa.
I'm pathetic. I'm so pathetic. All right. Phil, anything else for the good of the order?
no, I think we're all good. I think we're good. We definitely have to have you back, Dr. McGhee. Got to have you back.
Absolutely.
It'll be
You're
a
welcome
pleasure.
anytime.
Absolutely.
Well,
Love
then, I will say bye for now.
it. Take care, guys.
All right.